Now that the sequel of the critically acclaimed Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom is releasing soon, people's expectations are through the roof. After all, the first game was so well liked that it's in many lists of best video games of all times. Therefore, if you're making a sequel to such a game, you have quite a lot to live up to. That is why today we're going to discuss one thing that many fans are desperately hoping for in this sequel: dungeons. Despite all the praise Breath of the Wild received, people levied some legitimate criticism to the game, the main one being that the game didn't have proper dungeons. Now, the game did have dungeons in the form of the interiors of the 4 divine beasts. However, people often criticize them for being too short, too similar, and not having enough interesting puzzles to them. The most interesting part for these fans is the fact that the game does have at least one full-scale dungeon in Hyrule Castle, but that's it. Only one. In the eyes of many, what makes the Legend of Zelda series is the music, the world and characters, and its dungeons. They've been a staple of the series since the very first game, and many of them are remembered fondly, like Ocarina of Time's Forest Temple or Twilight Princess's Arbiter Grounds. Dungeons often have memorable themes and help make the world of each game feel deeper and more alive. For example, Dragon Root Island not only serves as the game's second dungeon, but also as the home of the Rito tribe. But by far the strongest point are the puzzles they house. Dungeon puzzles invite the players to think and to utilize the items in their inventory in imaginative ways that make solving one of them on your own feel extremely rewarding. Sometimes you have to light something on fire, other times you need to push a block down a couple of floors to place it under a button, while in some cases you have an intricate riddle to solve. These particular dungeons each test the players in a myriad of ways, and thus it's not surprising that fans have fallen in love with the concept. And yet, Breath of the Wild didn't follow that trend. Instead, the game had 120 shrines, which each had one or multiple puzzles to solve. They had the puzzles, but 120 separate shrines just wasn't the same as having one long, coherent dungeon. So now that we know how important dungeons are to the series, has Tears of the Kingdom fixed that issue? Well, the truth is we don't know yet. Nintendo has been oddly quiet about the game despite it being such a long-awaited sequel, and as such we've not had enough information to confirm or disconfirm the dungeons. With many criticizing the reusing of the original game's map, there was this general sense that dungeons wouldn't be in the game. Plenty of disappointed fans called this game a DLC with the price of a full game. However, on April 13th, the final trailer for the game was revealed, and boy was there a lot in it. But in the midst of new characters being revealed, old allies returning, and Ganondorf and Zelda's new looks, the trailer showed multiple puzzles and locations that are unseen in the original game, which of course leads many to ask, are those the dungeons? And honestly, they might be. They look a lot more diverse than the divine beasts, and some things like the ship look big enough to house a dungeon. So there's a building coming out of the sand, there's caves, and the Sky Islands look to have a lot more to them than initially thought. We've also seen new boss-like monsters like a 3-headed dragon, a sort of malice crocodile, and some weird ice serpent thing. Where would all those things be? You know what I say? I say dungeons! Plus, think about this. If divine beasts were our dungeon replacement in the first game, well, what are they going to be in this game? We've all already dealt with the beasts, which makes the return of old school dungeons that much more likely. So what do you guys think? Are dungeons back? If you think so, what dungeon would you like to see in Tears of the Kingdom? And if you don't believe they're back, what do you think is going to replace them? Let us know in the comments below. This has been Danny with Game Domain, and I hope to see you in another video.